Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to a special festive rivalry-filled edition of the Red and Blue Review podcast with me, Ian Noble, your host for the next hour or so, as we unpack the action, news and views from around SE25 following a share of the spoils with that small team from the South Coast yesterday. There aren't many certainties in life other than death, taxes and 1-1 draws between Crystal Palace and Brighton at Selhurst Park. And it's amazing, isn't it, how different a draw can feel. Euphoric after the equaliser at the Etihad and fairly flat having been pegged back in the 82nd minute under the lights at Selhurst last night. And joining me on the pod this evening, as you can see on the screen, guys, we have first of all Lord Holyoke. Good evening, Gel.
Lord. Good evening, mate. Evening, everyone.
And back by popular demand, the legend that is, of course, Jim Cannon. Hello, Jim.
Good evening. I'm just telling you now, my screen is frozen. So can you see me all right?
We can see you and we can hear you and you're moving. So that's okay.
That's all right. But you're all frozen, so you're all mute.
Okay, fair enough. All right. And finally, a very good morning in Melbourne, Australia to young Aaron. Hi, Aaron. How you doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Did you have a good night's sleep last night? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Good to see you on a Saturday morning. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, guys. Well, look, we're going to get to the game shortly, but before we do, we have a serious message from Nick Philpott.
Hi, everybody. It's Nick here. I'm sorry to interrupt the show. I'm about to bring the content down a little bit because I have some very serious stuff that I want to share with you all. And before I get into the main body of the message, I do have full permission from the family concerned to have this conversation with you this evening. The name Claire Davis will be very familiar to many of you. You'll have interacted with Claire on social media, on Facebook and Twitter. You may even have met Claire. I've actually spent many an hour, many a football match together, home and away with Claire Davis. And she's become a very good friend of mine, to the point where my real wife, Sarah, calls Claire Davis my football wife, okay, because she's such a beautiful person. Claire is the mother of two lovely girls, and it is my solemn duty to be able to share with you all, for those of you who don't know, that Claire's eldest child, Holly, sadly passed away a couple of weeks ago. She died peacefully in her sleep at home, and it's so desperately sad. I'm finding it very difficult to record this message, but I just wanted, on behalf of the Red and Blue Review family, to pass on our sincere condolences, our love and our warmth to you, Claire and Aaron. Ladies and gentlemen, you may well have seen on social media that Claire has actually put it out herself this week, and she is very familiar with all the messages that you have written on social media. But should any of you wish to send her a message below on this chat here this evening, I will personally make sure that Claire gets to see each and every one of them. I'm giving Claire and her family plenty of space at the moment, but she knows that I'm here for her because I love that little girl so much. Holly was the most beautiful child you could ever meet. I was known as Uncle Nick, and say that smile of hers will stay with me. It will stay in my heart for the rest of my life. Holly, may you rest in peace, long and eternal peace. We love you so much on behalf of everybody at Red and Blue Review. Thank you.
Yes, we all echo Nick's words, and our thoughts and our prayers are with Claire and her family at this sad time for her. So, guys, back to the game, back to events at Selhurst Park last night. Before we get to the game itself, let's have a look at the lineup. There are 3 changes from the starting 11 at City. Incoming, we have the returning from injury Jefferson Lerma, and returning from sickness Will Hughes, alongside the returning Jordan Ayew from his 1-game ban, having been ludicrously sent off against Liverpool, making way with Ward, Riedeveld and Schlupp. And there's the lineup. Jim, you were at the ground yesterday when you saw the team sheet at 7 p.m. What were your thoughts, my friend?
Well, I suppose it's as good as we could put out, considering the injuries we've got. possibly you'd want Eze to play right from the start, but I can understand them not playing him. But I suppose having looked at the game and watched the last couple of performances, Richards is a decent player, but he's not a centre. He's not a central midfield player. Anderson is as good as any of our midfield players. Richards is an international centre half. So why doesn't he put Richards at centre half and Anderson in the middle of the park, who I'm sure would create far, far more than what Richards does? Now, I'm not having a go at Richards because he's been put out of position, but I think we'd be a better team.
Interesting, really interesting. Aaron, you're nodding in agreement, presumably, there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone saw it, but for the first 5 or 10 minutes, actually, they was switching up a little bit. A few of them, but it was actually more Gurhey that was going forward instead of Richards. There was a little bit of a swap going on, but I've got to agree with everything Jim says, because Anderson as his passing and ability is ridiculous. We all know it. So I'd have pushed him forward instead. I absolutely agree. I know we don't want to break up that centre back partnership, but I don't think Chris Richards has done anything bad at the back since I've seen him play. So
well, you can agree with what Jill says, because Jill said nothing. So it's probably the only time you have agreed with anything Jill said. So Jill, have your word on the team selection, my friend.
Well, it's a selection of a team that's on the way back. You know, we've heard from Sky and the BBC of weeping about the amount of players that are injured in other teams, but we've had a considerable injury list for a while now. And it does happen to us once a year. You know, it's happened for years and years. But you know, particularly this year, which is why some of our results, you know, we were lucky to scrape with draws. We were happy to scrape draws against certain teams. But yeah, it's a team on the way back, and as playing a small part yesterday is again part of his rehabilitation. You know, at least they came back, then he was subbed, now he's back. So you know, it's a team that should be back on the up, and all for stronger that Lerma's in the middle with Hughes and talking about agreeing with each other. That is not a bad core at all to put Anderson in the middle, because to be honest with you, I mean, apart from probably Elise and maybe Eze, he probably is the best long distance passer in the team. So you know, if he wants to start acting like an 8 or a 10, then I'm all for it.
He played a delicious ball through in the second half. I'm sure we'll come to that when we talk about the highlights in a minute or two. When he fed Mateta through, it was just a wonderful ball. Really good. On the injury front, guys, we've got Czech Takure. He's going to probably be out for the season. He snapped his Achilles tendon, and that's, you know, it's going to be a long one. Raksaki, he's another one that's out for a while, and of course Joel Ward has now got hamstring. I learned about that on the train back from Man City, actually, because I was sitting with a guy who's a lovely chap, never met him before, a guy called Bobby Dennington, and his lad Teddy is one of the kit men. So he was on the phone to his lad Teddy, and on the way back from City, he said, Wardy's done his hamstring, so he's going to be out for a while as well. Obviously, Sam Johnston's injured, and Rob Holding, not that we've seen much of him. So the injury list of first teamers isn't that long at the moment. We're getting some of them back at the minute. So let's get to the game then. Aaron, you're going to lead for us on this, my friend. You watched it down under in glorious Technicolor with an Australian commentator. I don't know. You know, tell us about your experience on a match day. You know, what happens? What time of day is it, and what happens?
It just depends on the time of day that you're playing over there, really. Obviously, if it's an 8 o'clock start over there, like it's not, it's a 7 a.m. start over here. So it's perfect time in that. I woke up. I didn't have work yesterday, which was very nice. It was my first day off. So just woke up, saw the lineup, threw a bit of a wobbly, and then turned the TV on and made a cup of tea. So that's my daily ritual. But look, if it's a 3 p.m. kickoff, it's 2 a.m. over here. So what I do is, if I'll either stay up and watch it if it's on the weekend. If it's not, what I do is I wake up at a stupid o'clock, like 5 o'clock. I turn my phone off. and then I'll literally watch the whole game fresh without knowing what the score was. So
that's
if
hard
you guys,
to do, isn't it? That's hard, isn't
yes,
it? To do that?
Very hard, because sometimes like someone will message me and it will just flash up on my phone, like especially our chat, and I'll be like, oh, for Christ's sake, now I know what's happened. So that's all right. We'll start off with the game. Obviously, I'll go first half first.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of notes that I'll read off of, but I thought first half we started very well. I definitely thought we were the better team throughout the whole of the first half, especially coming towards the end of it. But I start off, 12th minute, I think, was when we first saw a bit of action. For the first 10 minutes, there wasn't much going on. It was very, tit for tat. They were passing the ball around the back like as we were. We were trying to. We started off well with the press. That's what I'll say. That's what changed from the second half. First half, we really pressed them hard. You could see that something was said about don't let them have the ball as much as they want it. Get up and press them. And they did that first front four. They pressed well as a unit. But I've got here, 12th minute. I remember this one pretty well because I thought we was going to score off it, to be honest. But a ball into Elise, he's run down that channel. Perfect, the ball just had to be perfect to Mateo. If it was a square chance like Schlappy's was against City the other day, I think that would have been a goal. But unfortunately, Elise just played the ball behind him. Was a bit of a poor cross, and they've managed to clear their lines. 18th minute.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you there.
No, you're all right.
You touched on it, but you didn't mention who played that ball through to Elise. Lerma, what a ball. Did you see that in the stadium, Jim? As we're watching it from the main stand, what a delicious ball through, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good ball. I mean, he's a quality player, Lerma. I mean, he's a big influence on our side. I know he's had a few injuries, but I mean, we miss him and Dakuri in the middle of the park because they set things going, which we haven't got at the moment. But yeah, excellent ball. And there was a couple of chances there. It flew across the box and we were just a little bit behind, or the ball was a little bit not in the right place, which was unfortunate because if we'd have got a goal then, it might have been a different game.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And so, Aaron, you're right. You touched it. Elise gets the ball in the box. It was just behind Mateta, I think, wasn't it? Just behind him rather than in front of him, which made a huge difference, of course.
Yeah, I mean, like I've got a few here, between say the 20th and the 30th minute mark. We had a fair few balls flying into the box, and it was good to see us really get on the front foot and get them because they didn't like that. You could see that they didn't like it. And they didn't really trouble us in the first half. They had one shot on target, I believe, in the first half. I might have that wrong, so please forgive me. But it was a save by Henderson. I think it was about 18th minute.
Yeah.
It fit. It was a ball into the box. Mitchell's kind of let it go over his head. It's come to their young fullback. I think what was his name? Hinchelwood. He was getting up and down that right flank a fair bit. And it was a good shot stop by Henderson. He started off well with his shot stopping, but I'm sure we'll get onto him in the second half.
Okay. Let me just bring Jell in, if I may. Jell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Obviously, I just sit on YouTube. I don't watch normal TV, but every now and then I do just try and. I shouldn't. It's like a sin, really. But I watched the odd Brighton game, and it was apparent a little while ago that the name Hinchelwood kept popping up, and I was like, So I thought, well, next time I'm on with Jim, I'll ask him if he actually is it. It's obviously the Jim, the surname Hinchelwood, both Palace and Brighton. I think it was Doris. Was it Paul that ended up at Brighton? Is it his? It can't be his son. It must be his grandson.
His grandson.
Grandson, correct.
Amazing. Whose grandson is it? Paul or Martin's?
It's Paul's grandson. Paul's son Adam is the dad.
Yeah,
who was an ex-footballer as well.
I was going to say, and he's followed in the footsteps of his own, of grandfather, dad, and now him.
Yeah,
there's
quite a few that have all sort of carried on the old sort of regime.
But his
dad, is also now the manager of Worthing as well.
That's right. Adam's manager of Worthing. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
so Adam played for Brighton as well, did he? Adam played for Brighton as well?
Yeah. He was a pro footballer as well, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought the young lad, he had a good game at right back, and I thought, he didn't do bad, yeah. Yeah. He's a right back. He got into the box a couple of times, a bit like sort of Trent Alexander-Arnold-esque, inverted right back. Anyway, enough about Brighton players, but it's interesting link, Jill. Thank you for that. Back to the old Palace days of Paul and Martin Hinshaw, who played alongside you, Jim, of course, back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of, I'll get on to. There was another chance. I'm sure. Sorry, I'll just go through the chances because we had a fair few. Mateta had I think they lost the ball, didn't they? Near the edge of their own box. Mateta's picked it up, had a bit of a drive, and he's had a good strike at it. He's hit it well. Unfortunately, it was just straight at the keeper. Another chance for us. I think we walked in. I know Nigel might have the stats and he'll bring them up for us. Probably about 5 or 6 shots on target in the first half. We did give it a go. I personally, I just named this one because I know you might not have seen it in the ground. There was a point between about the 35th minute where there was a shot that was had and it looked like it struck a hand of their player. It wasn't too many shouts from us, but I was watching it on TV. Look at the replay; it did strike his hand, but it did. But it was at a very fast pace. I don't know if VR just looked at that and said, "Nah, not going to have a bar of it." But again, if that was probably us, it would have gone the other way. I just wanted to make sure we noted that one down. There was I thought touching on to Jim, because I'm going to go on to the goal now and around that time, I thought Lerma. And I agree with Jim here. He's quality. At first half, he really bossed that midfield to a T. He was amazing. The way he picks up the ball and he just doesn't win the ball defensively, but he drives forward with it and he makes good decisions and good passes. And first half for me, he was absolutely ace. But we'll go on to the goal. I mean, this is what we was talking about start of the first half, which gets us the goal. Us pressing them. They didn't like it. They were trying to play out the back. Their keeper did look a bit nervous. He's only a young lad, from my understanding. And that was it. We forced him into the press. We pressed high, and he's gone to pass the ball out from the back. At least he's got a good touch on it. A good header. Good leap by him as well. He's got up well there. And I believe is it fallen to Hughesy? I think. Forgive me on this one. And he's played. I thought he was going to play it into the box, but he's got his head up. He's switched it out. Seen Elise's free, and can I just say, what a ball into the box that is for preciseness. He's put that on put it on a plate for him, really. He can't miss from there.
Sixpence, he put it on, didn't he?
Yeah, proverbial sixpence, absolutely. And, the goal was gaping right in front of him, picture up on screen there. Ayew can't miss with that. I'm pretty sure Gel, if he was, I know Gel wasn't watching live, but if he was, he would have had his hands on his head or covering his eyes, maybe thinking that he might miss that chance, being Gel's favourite player of all time. But he didn't, and he put it in the back of the net. So, 1-0 to Palace.
He still didn't look very happy once he scored, though, did he? You go 1-0 up against your arch rivals right at half-time, and he looked miserable. What's that about? I don't know. Joe.
Yeah, he probably thought that even though he's had a really good game and scored a really good goal,
I was going to go in tomorrow.
Slag him off.
I won't. You guys know that I always said if he has a good game, I call it a good game. And if he has a bad game, I call it a bad game.
He's the best player we've got. He's the most consistent player. Week in, week out.
With a legend. How can I do that?
Gel and Aaron, let Jim have his say.
Going back to Ayew,
he's the best player we've got.
And he did what he needed to do. Going back to Ayew, I thought he had
everything he does. He's consistent in everything he does. He's the only player that can hold the ball up out of our front players to a real degree and people on, brings people into the game. If we didn't have him, we'd be a struggling team, I'll tell you.
And we did miss him when he went off as well. And Roy alluded to that in his post-match presser. He talked about the fact that, again, he's done this before. The substitutions, I'm sure you'll come to this, Aaron. Roy reckoned that they didn't change the game enough. But we missed Ayew when he came off. So, Nigel, have you got a sound bit that you were trying to play earlier? No, he hasn't. Don't worry. Don't worry. Anyway, Gel, I think he was having a go at you earlier a little bit.
No. And when he gets it lined up again, because he just did it as he was doing, as Jim was talking. But like I said, I mean, you saying about the press. I mean, it was all down to Richards being much more. Well, basically, I'm looking at a freeze frame bit now. I mean, he's as the goalkeeper gets to turn, and he usually would be passing it to Dunk. Richards is on him, but he's coming at an angle where he can't make that pass. He can't go across goal. But yeah, I mean, again, we privately had that thing about Richards, about being in the midfield. But he doesn't have a bad game for us. That's the thing, and he's almost getting to the point where he's getting like Ward has done over the last 10, 11 seasons of like, you ask him to play somewhere and he just plays, and I think he's happy to play. But again, Elise will get his move to a big side, because that pass is his signature. He can float that pass to anywhere within 30 to 50 yards, but he also then can switch it up to make it a screamer, and it's in the top corner. But that, you can use all the description you want about that. It's and again, I can't work him out. See, this is the thing that drives me mad about him, right? Is he gets sent off against Liverpool, and I know before, and I had this conversation with Nick this afternoon, and before people go, yeah, well, had we been the other way round and losing 1-0, and a Liverpool player had fouled one of our players and then kicked the ball away, he weren't given a yellow card he was given a second yellow card for petulance.
No, Gel, stop you a minute. You got that wrong. The first yellow card was for petulance. The second yellow card was for a foul. Okay.
For a foul, and then he kicked the ball away.
No, he didn't kick the ball away. Anyway, that was a game 2 weeks ago, but you're right.
But what I'm saying is, and then Roy caned him after. It's a bit like, and he's called it that, basically he cost us a game. But he hasn't. Last night, I mean, I didn't see it. I was on a plane for 6 hours yesterday. Okay. But I've seen all of the stuff that I can. But like you said, why doesn't he celebrate? He either cries or he looks like he's, so someone sold his house behind his back.
Listen, I was half joking about Jordan Ayew not celebrating, and it is hard to celebrate because from where I'm sitting in the main stand, I don't think I celebrated the goal much last night. Why? Because I thought someone was going to flag for offside, or there was a handball, or VAR.
That's VAR. That's VAR destroying the game for you.
Yeah. So me VAR humbug. There we are. I've got that on there. Right. Okay. And Paul Bristow says Jordan's goal was the first goal scored by a Palace player at the White Horse Lane end, other than Eze's goal, for 14 months. Well, it's not the first goal if Eze scored there, but, I get your point. Maybe the second goal that's been scored in the White Horse Lane end. So hard lines if you sit in the White Horse Lane end and you don't see many goals. But maybe the tide has turned. Maybe it will change from now on. Anyway,
great stats.
Half-time, we go in 1-0 up. And, Jim, can you remember a half-time atmosphere quite as good as that yesterday?
Well, no, because with the last 10 minutes of that first half, we were really flying. We were whacking balls in there, and we were all thinking we're going to get another goal. But this is Palace. You never know what you're going to get in the second half, do you? And what we saw is quite consistent of lots of performances this year.
But the point I wanted to make with about half time is that we walk off at half time and all you can hear is we love you, and then Jordan, and it was brilliant. Maybe Jim, you'd gone onto the posh seats by then. You were in there in the lounge already by then. You missed it, mate. Maybe.
Not at all. But you got to remember that whatever way you look at it, Brighton are a better side than us.
Yeah. And
in that second half, they stamped their authority, and whether that's the manager. I think a lot of time as a pro footballer and you're 1-0 up, you've got two choices, haven't you? You either go and get the second goal and kill the game off, maybe, or you defend thinking one's going to be enough. which then just gives the opposition the impetus to come at you. And I mean, there's not a lot of games where I've seen Palace fans blowing for a whistle with 1-0 against a team like Brighton with 10 minutes to go.
What is it you say, Aaron, at your level of football? When you're 1-0 up, I bet this is what you say. 0-0, lads. It's 0-0. They tell each other it's 0-0. It's 0-0, lads.
100%. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I understand why sometimes we do it, right? But we did it for the whole of the second half, right? And what you're alluding to, you're going off the pitch. The fact, you've just scored. The fans are right up you. If that won't shove a rocket up your ass, I don't know what will, right? And the fact that we come out second half and we just say, right, we're going to dig in now. Dig in for 45 minutes against a team that can pass a ball like that. I'm telling you, we're just asking. I get that we can dig in and we've got the low block. That's what our manager's about, and that's what he's asked us to do, right? And we've also had it on the other hand with Patrick Vieira, where we did concede goals, but we scored more goals, right? But you cannot go. I'm telling you now, I can see De Zerbi's name popping up in some of the comments, right? You cannot go against his team like that, the way that they're playing at the moment. I mean, they destroy teams with the way that they pass the ball around. They were playing one touch on the edge of our box in the second half, like for fun. You just for me, and we'll go on to the second half, but you can do that against certain teams. Sometimes you can dig in against a team like Brighton. They will cut you open at one point, and they did. They should have won that game, to be brutally honest. That Hinchelwood missed an open goal. There was times that they cut us open and we got away with it. I'm saying we got away with one yesterday, big time.
Okay, so second half, then we did look as if we were sitting back more, but I think it was more about the way Brighton played than rather than the way we played necessarily in the second half. So, Aaron, just pick out a few highlights, if you will, for that second half, and I'll bring Jell and Jim into the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't wrote too much on the first half second half, to be honest, because I mean, we were absolutely, everything. The only thing that come out of the second half is that Henderson had a few flappers for 10 minutes, which was a little concerning. His decision making wasn't spot on in the second half. He had that a couple, I think, where he's come out and he's punched the ball. It's come off Danny Welbeck. I thought that you see that floating.
2-1, that would have been.
Yeah, see that one floating in the back of the net. That would have been hard to take. Maybe he's a bit, he hasn't played for a little while, we'll see, but they had a few chances. As I said, that Hinchelwood one. The bit I will come on to the second half, the bit that I wanted to talk about was the substitution. And, we'll go on to this with especially the Ayew and Eze one for me. Eze hasn't started the game for a reason, right? I still think he's probably our best player. I still believe that. But he come on yesterday and he looked rusty. Very rusty. Mateta, a good bit of play. It was this, our two good chances come within a minute of each other. Mateta's, had a driving run, played the ball to Eze. His front and goal. It's 1 versus 1. And their defender has come out of nowhere. And slid. But I think Eze, when he's got a couple of games under his belt, he takes that chance. He took that chance. Yeah. It was so slow to get the ball out of his feet. He took a long time to get that ball out of his feet. And you're thinking, if that was France or like some of the boys are saying in the chat, you put someone on, because France looked bloody good against City. You put him on. Does he take that chance? Maybe. But for me, that's bad. That's bad management by Roy, because Eze looked nowhere near it. That corner again, it's come to him on the edge of the box. He's just hit the ball into the ground and it's flown over the bar. That's a good chance as well.
You're not wrong. Let me stop you there. If you're Roy Hodgson and Eze's trained all week, don't forget he came off the bench at City just for a couple of minutes, didn't he, towards the end of the game? And he sort of influenced it a little bit in those very, very small cameo he had last weekend. But he comes off the bench last weekend. He's trained all week. He said to Roy Hodgson, Roy said, how are you feeling? He says, well, I'm not quite ready, but, I'm all right for the bench. So he puts him on the bench. He's our best player. You've already said that, Aaron. Okay. We've got 20 minutes to go, and he gets criticised for us sitting back deep and allowing Brighton to come onto us. Okay. He's worried about Jordan Ayew's 5th yellow card. Okay. So, Jim's already said Ayew's one of our most important players. Ayew's on 4 cards already. So he's worried about that. So he thinks, let's bring Eze on for Ayew, 20 minutes to go. With hindsight, without knowing what's going to happen, without knowing what's going to happen next, that's not a bad call, is it? Eze for Ayew? With 20 minutes to go, really? Jim, what are your thoughts on that first?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have taken Ayew off. No way, because I think he was one of our best players.
Yellow card or no yellow card?
Well, I'm not into the yellow card thing. You go out and play and you do what you got to do. And if you get a booking, anybody get a booking these days with these referees. There's no normal free kick anymore. Everything's a yellow card. There must have been a few there. Like you think, why is he giving a yellow card? It's a normal coming together, but every time it seems that there's a free kick, they're going to give a yellow card. I do also think that Eze isn't the player out wide as he is in the middle of the park. Purely because you need to involve a wide player, you need to have the ball and you need to get the ball out to them. Well, we never had that. So Eze's much better in the middle of the park where things are bubbling about and he might get on the end of it. So you're right what you're saying. You would think if you bring Eze on, he's probably our best player when he's at full flight. But he's had a few injuries and he's looking after them. But I would have left Ayew on and then I would have brought Eze on as well. If you want to try and go and win the game. But maybe at that particular time, 1-0, maybe he's thinking, I don't want to give nothing away. So,
okay, Aaron, come back to you.
I just think I have to agree that. Look, I agree that France is not a starter yet, right? The guy's come over from Brazil. He's a young kid in that, but we're 1-0 up against Brighton. And I just think bring him on. Bring him on. You've got to give. I'm sorry, guys. You've got to give him a chance, mate. You've got to give him. And you gave him a chance against Man City, and he was spraying balls, and he was taking one of the fastest fullbacks on in the league and beating him. Give him 20 minutes on that pitch. If Eze doesn't like playing out on the left or wide, where he looks a bit lost, as I agree with Jim, he is a number 10. It's the shirt number he wears, right? Bring him on and just see, or don't take Ayew off. I think Mateta played very well yesterday. I think he held up the ball very well for us when he could. He didn't have a fantastic game, but he had a good game. But Ayew does hold up the ball for us. And when we're trying to get out against Brighton, who are absolutely battering us at this point, you need someone that's going to hold up the ball. Eze's not going to do that out on the left. He's not. I'm sorry, because it's not his position and it's not his job to do that. And he looked rusty. I think if someone is that, if he's just saying, look, a bit unsure, just leave him on the bench and give him another Christmas to train, and get back up to full fitness,
Okay. But the move that you alluded to earlier was probably our best move of the second half. And it started.
It's the only move.
Yes, okay. So it started wide with Elise on the right flank, hugging the touchline. He fed in Mateta. Mateta left Dunk for dead with that. It was a brilliant bit of play. It was the right ball. And I think a fully, I wouldn't say fully fit, but a fully up to speed Eberechi Eze takes that ball first time and scores.
Absolutely.
And at 2-0, their game's done then. So, maybe the game turned on that pivotal moment for us. But you've already said it, I think. You can't deny Brighton, a share of the points. I mean, if any team looked like they were going to win it late on, it was them and not us. They were peppering the ball around our box, as you say, and it was a hard watch, wasn't it? I was watching the game like this through my hands, trying to hope that it wasn't going to be another Liverpool result, in a similar vein from the previous home game when we're leading the game and then lost 2-1. So just thinking, is there anything else? What about their goal? Anyone culpable for their goal, do you think? Any of you?
Yeah, I mean, Eze's given the ball away. Again, rustiness. I just believe that it's pure rustiness. I know it's in the build-up, but it was just a pass that didn't need to be made. Just hold on to the ball there. And he's just giving it away cheaply. And I know, but it wasn't just him. So I'm not going to sit here and dig him out. Everyone was giving the ball away cheaply in the second half. Everybody. But yeah,
I watched it back, and it was Chris Richards that jumped with Welbeck. And of course, Welbeck, it was a wonderful header. And Paul Bristow said header in the chat, it was postage stamp. You know, he couldn't have put it anywhere else. It was right in that corner. No goalkeeper saves that. No goalkeeper in the world saves that. And he won't do it again. You know that he won't. He couldn't do that again in another 100 times, 99 times. He wouldn't get that header in that place like he did. But Richards was jumping with him, and I'm just thinking, could Richards have done more to put him off? Jim, you played centre half. Your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think he could have done any more. I mean, sometimes you come up, two players go for a ball, and somebody jumps slightly higher. As long as you've made a challenge and you've tried to win the ball, sometimes people just beat you to the ball, and that's exactly what Welbeck done. And Aaron's right. I mean, Eze could have put that ball anywhere. I don't know where he was trying to play it. He just side-footed it up in the air into the middle of the park and gave them possession again. He should have just knocked it in his head row. But I actually thought, when I saw it, maybe the keeper was a bit sort of flat-footed there, but it was an unbelievable header. I mean, I've watched it again, and you wouldn't see a better header in the Premier League all season than that one there.
Okay, I agree with you. Yeah, really good goal. Gel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally watching it now, and Richards does get up higher, but the fact is, Welbeck is actually in front of him, and no matter he's not going to get over and in. And the only way that he's going to stop him from getting anything on that is if he pushes in, and he's going to have to physically smash him. And chances are, if he does that, it'll be a penalty anyway. But like I say, it's almost a fluke goal because he's like you say, he's never going to do that again. Mike, if I may just go back, just from what I've seen of him in the little amount that he's played for us, Henderson is not a catcher of the football. He is this new breed of foreign coaches that want you to palm it away, and that worries me because, like you say, the chance where they could have again fluked a complete win was quite easily the easier choice to catch the ball. But he flaps. He doesn't punch it. He actually flaps it at Welbeck. And he doesn't know what's going on. It hits him in the face, and luckily goes 3 yards wide. But
it was like
we lost to that.
Pantomime time, wasn't it?
But the thing is, had we lost 2-1 to that, I mean, that would have just been pelters all round for everybody, for Roy, for Henderson, but for everybody. But yeah, and again, like I said to Nick, we're wearing rose tinted glasses if we say that the average way that we've been playing for the way the last few months to not take a point off of Brighton at home or away, either or, because they have proved now for a long while that they're a very good side, and probably are a better side than us. I mean, we have to play very well with our full team out, and we'll give them a good game. But yeah, it's I was happy. I've got to say, the plane landed, switching my phone on, 1-1. CIU, thought I'm going to get a load of shit tomorrow, but happy days. But again,
that's okay. We can give you shit. That's all right. That's not a problem.
Exactly. But listen, and don't take this the wrong way. I am glad he scored. I wish he would be a little bit more happier about it. Yeah. But yeah, he is an integral part of the team. But I do think his time is coming. At his age, and it is the likes of Ozo, etc. that we need to be. I think need to be involving. And he just looks a beast, mate. I'm telling you. And if we don't start using him a lot, someone else will. They'll see that.
Sure. Thanks, Gel. I'm just going to pull out a few comments from the chat. Mark Callahan says Richards didn't get off the ground when the cross came in. That was Mark's thoughts on that. I saw another comment. Someone said about from the Arthur Waite. I'm just hello. We got a new watcher there. So was watching from the Arthur Waite stand. They thought it was a freak goal until they saw it back and realised what a jolly good header it was. And then there was something else I was going to but Jim would have got the ball and Welbeck. Here we are. Richard Thomas from the other way. I thought it was a lucky looping header. Watch it back later. That was a quality finish. Yeah, he won't do it again. Andrew Adams, give Henderson a chance. Hadn't been well during the week. Okay, yeah, 26 years old and will get better. I thought my thoughts on Henderson yesterday was that first half I thought it was great again. I thought he made some great saves, kind of saves you'd expect him to make, maybe. Yeah. But second half, the one he flapped at when it was like a pinball then in the penalty area, and he got away with it. And then the one that you've just talked about when he came out and punched it when it would have been needed to catch and then nearly conceded. I thought these are really poor goalkeeping decisions by him. And the other thought I had about him was that I thought his distribution wasn't anywhere near as good as Sam Johnson. Sam Johnson
nowhere near
as good. Yeah.
No, when he's the second the first half it was brilliant, Ian, as you say, but the second half it was just I don't know what happened or what was said to them at half time, but everything, first half was short ball, Gurhey, Anderson, the same, that same stuff that we're used to. Everything in the second half, I know that they were pressing us. I know that. But we still have to play within a certain way. But he just punted it long every single time. And when he was punting it long, it wasn't even it wasn't even within 10 yards of Mateta. It was nowhere near. Yeah. So it's like, where are those balls going? And that I'm telling you now, I know it adds up to many reasons why we didn't come away with 3 points there. But if you keep distributing that ball long and it's going nowhere, you're just inviting the pressure onto us. And I could see at the end, I don't know if anyone else saw it or agrees with me here, the boys were tired. They couldn't keep hold of the ball because they were just chasing shadows the whole, I'd even say the last 30 minutes.
Sure. Good. Okay, so we've done the game, Aaron. I don't think there's an awful lot more to say. Jell or Jim, anything else you want to add, gents?
No, all said.
Okay, all good. And they're the stats. So 2/3 possession for Brighton in our own backyard, which hurts a little bit, but they are a possession-based side. This is a side that just qualified for the knockout stages of the Europa League, guys. So they're decent. There's no two ways about that. They had the majority of shots, as you can imagine. And there is the league table. So there we sit on 18 points in 15th place after 18 games, just 4 wins, and just one of those wins at Selhurst Park, which was a 3-2 victory over Wolves way back in September. So that sort of puts it into context for the final game of the the first half of the season, and we've got coming up in a few days' time. Now, before we get on to anything else, Jim Cannon, a certain player who used to play for Crystal Palace Football Club, had a little dig at you on social media a little while ago. Gary Neville hosts a show called The Overlap, and one of his regular pals on there is a certain Ian Wright. And I think he asked the question of anyone you shared a dressing room with that you didn't like. And he said, Jim Cannon. And Roy Keane said, Jim who? And then Wright, he said, Scottish bloke, centre half. Now, he had a little go at you, and we're not going to repeat what he said, but you'd like a little right of reply, wouldn't you, Jim, I think?
Yeah, I mean, Nick asked me last week, the last show, if I wanted to say anything, and I'd heard it before. I'd seen something in his book that he didn't like me, called me a bully. And then obviously there was another sort of interview that he'd done, and then this latest one. And then it was only when I see the Mail today, and it's a big thing about Ian Wright being the best punter there's ever been, punted that there's ever been. And Ian Laddyman, who's apparently his best mate anyway, he's mentioned me that I'd done a bit of bullying. I've never checked the podcast, that thing you just mentioned, but I did see a little clip on Facebook, and it was his first thing he said was, well, I'd just come out of the building site as a 21-year-old to Crystal Palace, and I didn't know what was going on. And obviously me, being Jim Cannon, didn't help him, was bullying him in his words. Well, I just like to put a couple of things straight, and this has nothing to do with Ian Wright. He came out of a building site as a 21-year-old. I was 14 and 10 months when I left school. I lived in a place called the Gorbals in Glasgow, which was basically a slum area, one of the most deprived areas in the country, like a lot of places throughout the United Kingdom. And I went and worked for nearly 10 months on a building site with my dad. I then got a chance to go on trial with Manchester City because I played in a good amateur under 15, under 16 team in Glasgow. And then I come down to Crystal Palace, and then they asked me to sign on. So at 16, Ian Wright left South London, travelled 4 miles from wherever he lived to Mitcham training ground. I travelled 500 miles as a 16-year-old to Glasgow, from Glasgow to London. Didn't know anybody, never had met any of the players, was putting digs with people I'd never seen in my life. Went to training and senior players couldn't understand you because my broad Scottish accent, would take the piss out of you, would do anything. But my attitude was, this is a life I want, because I want to be a professional footballer. So I didn't whinge. I just got on with all the negativity that I got, being a Scotsman, coming down to England in an environment where it was a million miles away from what I'd ever experienced. So when I hear and see little snippets about how belittled Ian Wright was coming from the East End of London or South London, 4 miles up the road to play for Crystal Palace as a 21-year-old. He had 6 years more lifetime than I had when I come down here. So I just got a little bit annoyed about that. And I'd just like to make things clear. The bullying thing is a load of crap.
Is it?
He didn't like what I said to him. There was lots of things. And I probably said lots of things to lots of players. Yeah. I was a skipper at the time. And that's the way it was. And 37 years ago, things were said that wouldn't be said. The woke society won't allow you to say today.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I just thought I'd like to just clear that up, that my life was different as a 14-year-old, 15-year-old back in Glasgow to where it was when I come down here. So that's all.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for that. And lots of support for you in the chat from everything you've said there. So Jim, afterwards, take some time out to read those comments. There's a lot of love for you there, mate.
I can't read anything at the moment because you're all froze.
Yeah, I know. But as I said, afterwards, put on the Facebook and have a read. And listen, you will not get that on any other Crystal Palace podcast, guys. The writer reply of Jim Cannon to Ian Wright's ridiculous comments on the overlap the other week. So that's all good. Jim, thanks for taking the time to share that with us this evening, my friend. Really good. I want to come now to looking at the future of the club and immediate future of the club. So, you know, we're about to approach January. What happens in January? We open this thing called the transfer window, and there's an opportunity to add to the playing squad. And I'm going to give you some names, guys. I've just done a little bit of research. If I've missed some, then feel free to throw some in. But I'd like to know from your point of view, guys, and maybe in the chat as well, yes or no. So the first one that has been linked with us today, Calvin Phillips, Manchester City. Hardly getting a kick at Man City, England international. Calvin Phillips, on loan in January, yes or no, Aaron Mears?
No.
No. Okay. Why'd you say that?
Very injury prone, isn't he? Unfit at the moment. I think it's been very well documented. We don't need any unfit players in the squad because we're looking tired. You know, look, no from me. Sorry.
Okay. Jill?
No, it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't get in front of Lerner. It doesn't get in front of Decore. I've always loved Hughes' energy and he's aggro when we need him. He's so I can't see where he gets past it. technically he might be a little bit better than some of them, but until we either lose. I mean, by saying that, Decore's not coming back for the rest of the season, so I would hate to think that if we did take him on loan, he would just come straight in and walk into the first team and stay there. I wouldn't sit right with me.
Okay, Jim.
100% yes.
Interesting.
He's England international. He's, if fit, Phillips is better than the two midfield players we've got. It's a no-brainer. He's quality. I mean, you can talk about any injury like, well, he's injured. He don't play for Manchester City because he can't get into the team because of the world-class players they've got there. So, yes, he would fit in our team and he'd make us a better team.
And Manchester City signed him for a reason from Leeds United because he was a top-class player at Leeds United, of course. So we've got a no, we've got a yes, and we've got to sit on the fence. I like that. It's all good. Jill, you coming
just quickly. So can I add to that then? So he's played almost zero since he came from Leeds. If he still played from Leeds, would you have him from Leeds?
Of course you would.
But he wouldn't be in the England squad. And he doesn't.
Well, he was in the England squad when he was at Leeds, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he's never going to be a regular in at City. He's literally just a squad player to make up the 25. I don't think he's a cup game player at best.
Well, he's obviously every player at Manchester City is probably a squad player if you look at it that way.
Apart from Haaland, I think he's played 10 times for City. He has not 10 games, but he's come off the bench or he's featured 10 times this season. I think.
This season and last season?
I think it's this season actually. I might got that wrong, but I think he has played a bit. He played in the last Champions League game anyway. That's for sure. Anyway, so that's Calvin Phillips. Be interested to see what happens. A lot of love from him in the chat. Yes, says Yasmin. Yes, says Paul Bristow. And a couple of others earlier said no. So interesting. There's a split of opinion there. Second name I've got for you, Eddie Nketiah. To you first, Joe.
So it's a difficult one because he's a forward, but didn't we chase him for 18 months about 3 years ago? And he refused. He had the chance to come to us and refused. So I'm like, yeah, he looked really good when he played against us first game of the season. I'm gonna say yes because he probably is better than the two. If we're going to go on the premise of what we've got, yes.
Okay, good, Jim.
Yeah, I'd agree with Jill. Our centre forwards are. I know we didn't have much possession in the second half, but any ball that come up, I mean, Mateta was nowhere near challenging anybody. It couldn't get near a header. He's 6'4", the guy.
He can't jump, can he?
Yeah. No, he can't jump. Edwards got no pace. So between the two of them, they're not very good. I know they score the odd goal, and as soon as they score a goal, everybody goes, but he scored a goal. But there's more to a 90-minute game of football than putting one ball in the back of the net when you get the chance. It's bringing and involving lots of players and lots of different scenarios through the game. So in Nketiah, he would improve us 100%.
Sort of helps though if we score a goal if you're a striker, but yeah, I get your point. Aaron, Nketiah, yes or no?
Yes, mate. Yeah, I'd take him. I just see, I think Real Panel in the chat. I make Real Panel. They're looking at signing a striker. So Arsenal, it's very clear he'll be surplus to requirements over there, I think. I'd take him. I'm just going to point out. I spoke to Nick about this the other day, and Lee Lockwood's pointed this out as well. And I hope there's some names on this list, Ian, that you're going to give us, because we urgently need some fullbacks. Urgently, especially a right back. I'm telling you now. So I'll let you keep reading him. But Lee, absolutely, I agree with you, mate.
Very good. Okay. Mark Callahan, thank you for that contribution. I will read it out. Our strikers couldn't score in a brothel. Yeah, that old one. There we go. Right. So it's a big yes for Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal. What about Trevor Chalobah? It hasn't gone first. Chelsea centre back. Yeah, sort of defensive midfielder. Trevor Chalobah, put it in context, he's 24 years of age, England under 21 international. He's made 45 appearances for Chelsea. Jim Cannon.
I don't really know a lot about him, but I don't think we need another centre half or defensive midfielder. Our priorities are up front. That's the main thing. I mean, I know you've mentioned Joel Ward. I mean, Kleiny does a decent job. His distribution at times is not that good. But yeah, I suppose we do long term. We need another fullback. But yeah, I'm not sure about Chalobah. Not at all. I've not seen enough of him to comment on it. So
fair enough. Aaron?
No, we don't need a centre back. Or I know we've got Takora out injured, and we do need some cover. But you might look at a loan and that. But no, Chalobah not for me. No.
Okay, Joe.
Me neither. I know nothing really about him, but yeah.
Well, you know nothing about Chalobah. You won't know much about the next two because I had to look them up. But apparently, both these players, both younger players, I'm going to read these names to you now. Tell me first if you've ever heard of these players. First of all, Adam Wharton. Do you know who he plays for? Adam Wharton. He is a midfielder. He's 19 years of age, capped under 20 level from England. Plays for Blackburn Rovers. Been linked with Crystal Palace. And the other one that's been linked with us is Pierre Ekwah, EKWAH. 35 appearances for Sunderland. A box-to-box midfielder, 21 years of age. Capped for France at under 20 level. Was at the Chelsea Academy for 3 years. Left there when he joined West Ham. Left there last year to go and play for Sunderland. He's made 35 appearances for Sunderland. Apparently, he's catching the eye up in Sunderland, and we've been linked with him as well. So it's very difficult to make a view on those two lads because you probably wouldn't have seen or heard of them. And I haven't rehearsed this with you, have I? No, we haven't rehearsed this bit. So I haven't got any right back or left back names, but I think coming back to the right back issue, obviously Ward is out at the moment. If anything was to happen to Kleiny, we would have a problem, because we haven't got any cover there at all at the minute. And I thought Kleiny had a good game yesterday. I thought he played very well. Best I've seen him for a while. Aaron.
The problem is, again, we're living on a bit of a thing here because now, so you're saying Ward's out, right? But say if something happens, what if something happens to Mitchell? We've only got one left back.
Yep.
So, we're relying on Tyrick Mitchell to play week in, week out. I know that Jeffrey Schlupp can go to left back. He can, but we need to just go out there and buy a fullback, especially a right back, I think. I know we've got Kleiny, and I agree with you, Jim. He does a steady job. But we always know he's going to play Wardy over Klein when he's fit. And we've already had this discussion on previous shows about how, most teams' best players are going to be on the wing, right? And especially the quickest ones as well. Wardy can't keep up with them anymore. Kleiny's going to get to that point too. So we need to look to the future.
Indeed. Jed Spence been mentioned. He was at Tottenham, wasn't he, Jed Spence? I think he's gone back to somewhere up north. Can't remember where.
Middlesbrough.
Yeah. Gel, come in, my friend.
Just quickly, Jim, do you know why Franchak isn't playing? Bearing in mind, I think if you work the exchange rate out, I think he's the most expensive player that we've bought in since Benteke, I think. Is there a reason we bought 20 million euros that he isn't playing?
Well, it's easy enough to say one or two different scenarios, but listening to people at the club, that in training he hasn't really shown up as well as he hasn't got to the pace of the English game. Obviously, he come on against, was it Newcastle?
Newcastle was his debut.
And he played well, but from what I gather, he's not what they expected at the moment. But they're expecting he's got a brilliant pace. I mean, I didn't see any of the Newcastle game at all, so I can't comment on what he did or what he didn't do. But he's a young lad. He's come from a million miles away as far as he's concerned. And I dare say, given time, he'll be a top player for Palace, but maybe they just don't feel right. Could he have come on? I mean, he's a winger. I would have probably put him on in place of Ayew the other night.
Yeah.
But as I say, I haven't really seen anything of him, apart from 10 minutes in a game where Roy destroyed him because his contribution was negligible. But it's, you got to give these kids time. And, you can put them in too early and it makes it harder for them to then get going again. So, but I would have probably liked to have seen him come on the left wing. I don't know if he's a left wing or right wing. When Ayew went off, we needed to try and take the game to them. But again, that's how the fans are thinking. We don't want to be sitting on the edge of our 18-yard box. But maybe Roy's thinking, well, we're 1-0 up. I don't want to be opening the game up and trying to attack. So it's not easy being a manager of a team in the Premier League when you're 1-0 up, and do you try and get that second goal or do you try and defend it? And the mentality of players is they will try and defend it.
Okay, thanks, Jim, for that. Listen, France, one thing to say about France's debut at Newcastle, don't forget we were 4-0 down when he came on in that game. So it was hardly going to affect the game per se. He got criticised for the Tottenham substitute appearance along with others, didn't affect the game enough. And then he did play better, I thought, at Manchester City when he came on. But I think you're right. I think he's got a lot of talent. The club have identified the talent, which is why we paid the money for him. And he's one, not necessarily for now, but one for the future. And we just need to bide our time before we use him. That might be some people might not want to hear that. They might want to say, I want to see him start. I want to see him feature. And maybe we'll see him in the FA Cup tie against Everton. That's a good opportunity, possibly. But I think when Premier League points are at stake, it's almost too much of a risk sometimes with some of these youngsters. And Amada's probably in a similar position. Guys, we've got to keep an eye on the time. We've just gone over the hour mark. So one thing that's coming up in January that I want to draw your attention to, guys, is the Disabled Supporters Association Social Evening. This is open to all ages and all abilities. You don't have to be a disabled person to go along to this meeting. But if you are going to go, they'd like to know. So there's the email on there, info@cpfcdsa.org. Do tell them if you're going to come along so they can cater for you. There's a guest speaker, there's a raffle, there's a quiz. I went to the last one in the summer. Jim, you were there as well, and it was a very good evening. And I'm hoping to get to this one on the 13th of January too. So if you'd like to attend that, you'd be very, very welcome from the guys at the DSA. Bruce and Lindsay have asked us to mention that this evening. Of course, we've got a few fixture changes announced yesterday. They're not on there, so we haven't rehearsed this bit very well at all. The fixtures that come after these ones, we're moving Chelsea to a Monday evening at Selhurst Park on the 12th of February, and then the following Monday we're away to Everton on Monday the 19th of February, and that's both for Sky TV. But these are the games that are coming up. These are the next half a dozen that we have. Chelsea away on the 27th of December. That's live on Prime Video. And then we have Brentford at Selhurst Park. Bound to be another 1-1 draw for that one, as it always is. Everton visit in the FA Cup. The first FA Cup tie of the third round. It's live on ITV4. Tickets are dirt cheap for that. Try and get to Selhurst if you can for that one. And then we've got the midwinter break for a week. That's the weekend of the DSA meeting I've just mentioned. Arsenal away, lunchtime kickoff on TNT Sport on the 20th of January. A Tuesday night, the 30th of January, Sheffield United are the visitors to Selhurst Park. And then we've got the small matter of going away to Brighton. At the moment, that game is still scheduled for 3 p.m. on a Saturday. What money that will be moved, regardless of TV, on police advice. So Dawn says, yeah, rubbish. We want Saturday football. And in the Premier League game tonight, Aston Villa 0, Sheffield United 0 at Villa Park at the moment. So that's a bit of a surprise. I've got Ollie Watkins as my FPL captain this week, so I need a goal from him. And talking of FPL, Will Hughes joins the 59th Minute Club. If you follow FPL, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you won't, and I haven't got time to explain it. So Guys, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I think we're just about done. Quickly before we go, quick score predictions for the next two fixtures. I'll do this in alphabetical order. Aaron first. We're away to Chelsea, home to Brentford. Quickly, two scores, my friend.
1-1 at Chelsea, and I'm going to go. Sorry, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go 1-0 win against Brentford.
Brilliant. Okay, Gel, you're next.
1-1-2-2.
1-1-2-2. And Jim?
We'll get 1 point out of the two games.
Okay, that's as far as you're going to go, is it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. That'll be a loss to Chelsea and draw to Brentford. Then who knows? I think we'll do all right, Chelsea. I think we'll draw, and I like to see us beat Brentford. I really would. That time we beat them at ours. And listen, we are due a win at Selhurst Park at some point soon, and that Brentford game is a good opportunity to do just that. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us tonight as well. It just remains for me to say that we'll be back on Tuesday, the 2nd of January. There we go. We return on Tuesday, the 2nd of January. Nick will be back. I think I'm on the show as well. A couple of other familiar faces will be joining us, and we'll be looking back on both of these games, Chelsea away and Brentford at home. And it just remains for me to wish you a very happy Christmas. Hope you have a great time with your family and friends in the next couple of days. So thanks for joining us, guys, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Fly high, Holly.